Okay, so today it's almost the end of the year, so I'm going to do a recap on something I wrote back in 2015, September of 2015 to be specific, just before the 2015 federal election here in Canada, which I was actually running in Delta, British Columbia, on behalf of the Green Party at the time. So back then I created a blog called the anthonydevillano.wordpress.com. Still exists. I wrote a series of blogs about a bunch of ideas I had that could help Canada. Today I'm going to read one of them. The reason why is because the world is becoming a much more violent place, and for a myriad of reasons, I feel like there's going to be a tsunami of militarism sweep across Canada within the next year or two. And we need to ask ourselves, as Canadians, do we want to be famous as warriors for being cruel executioners and wholesale killers of other people? Or do we want to be the world's place of compassion? Do we want to lead with compassion? Do we want to be the place and the people that everybody wants to be, that we're basically the safe place in the world? And is there a way we can extend that safe place to these places that have become deeply unsafe? Well, I've got an idea, and I wrote it in 2015. I'm going to read it right now and maybe discuss a little bit afterwards. So the name of this blog was called The Canadian Compassionate Expeditionary Force, a Green Response to the Global Refugee Crisis, written September 27th, 2015. Canada needs boots on the ships. Because our Canadian Navy has been reduced to a punchline in a mean joke by years of federal mismanagement under Harper and the Liberals before him, we need to invest in some big boats. While the Coast Guard gets refunded and expanded, Canada's Navy would be funded and rebranded into the Canadian Compassionate Expeditionary Force under a Green Party government. Ha ha ha. The Canadian Air Force would also stop bombing Syria, obviously. Instead of uncomfortable gray, ugly boats bristling with offensive weaponry, the CCEF would buy up old and new cruise ships and refit them as floating citizenship processing centers. We need to go out to the refugees and process them close to Europe, Africa, and the Asia region to ensure that Canada does its part in confronting the world refugee crisis. Instead of boots on the ground or bombs from our Air Force to kill and destroy, Canada would forcefully project our brand of compassionate consideration. The Canadian Compassionate Expeditionary Force crew members would be empowered to make local investments in these troubled places to help alleviate the root cause of terrorism, which is hopelessness. The amount each crew member can invest will be equal to their yearly pay as a CCEF crew member. This will mean Canadian boots on the ground will be worth something to the locals alive and well. Armored vehicles provide a false sense of security. If the population surrounding you wants you dead, they'll find a way, as over 150 Canadian soldiers have shown us in Afghanistan. We need to make a real effort at winning the hearts and minds of would-be terrorists. Offering them nothing but a steady diet of bombs, bullets, and blood has clearly failed at preventing the growth of terrorism. To be sure, it's only made the situation exponentially worse, as we've seen. We would not purchase any more bomb delivery aircraft. Canadian aircraft will be the opposite of stealth bombers. If we can't make the engines sound loud and cool, then Canadian aircraft will be required to play extremely loud Canadian-made music. This will provide another venue for Canadian talent and will reassure the population we are flying above them that we mean them no harm. This law would apply to manned and unmanned Canadian aircraft. Canada is not a warrior nation, despite some of the amazing things our military has achieved over the years. Our proudest tradition is peacekeeping. This is the Canadian tradition most worth protecting, nurturing, and funding. This is how we maintain the proud tradition of Americans pretending to be Canadian when they are abroad. We really are the good guys, and we need to act like it. So I know it all sounds pretty hokey, pretty airy-fairy, but think about it. Do we really want to be super efficient killers? Is that who we are as Canadians? Or do we want to go out and extend the olive branch? Do we want to go out and find the refugees? Do we want to go out and cherry pick the good ones? Let's face it, there's some valuable people out there, and instead of letting them drown on a rubber raft between North Africa and Italy, we could go out and send them a boat and actually get them before they've gotten into that life-threatening situation that they're faced with, to get away from the unsafe place their home has become. Canada can be the good guys. We are the good guys in our hearts. Let's be the good guys for real.